I didn't buy the farm to make a statement. I bought it because I was tired. Tired of traffic, tired of noise, tired of being told what shade of beige my house was allowed to be. The listing said, "quiet acreage," and for the first time in years, that phrase felt like a promise instead of marketing fluff. The land sat just beyond the edge of a planned community called Brookstone Ridge, a pristine HOA neighborhood full of identical roofs and trimmed lawns that looked perfect from a distance and suffocating up close. My property line ran along the back of their development, but legally and clearly, I was outside their jurisdiction. Different zoning, different rules, different life. The first thing I did was put up a fence. It wasn't aggressive or ugly, just a sturdy, functional wooden fence with wire reinforcement, built to keep livestock in and trespassers out. I had goats coming, maybe a couple of cows down the line, and I wasn't about to gamble with loose animals or liability. The fence followed my surveyed boundary exactly, set back where the markers said it should be. I hired professionals, pulled permits, and kept every receipt in a folder I labeled land stuff, thinking I'd probably never need it. I needed it. About a month after the fence went up, I found 3 people standing on my side of it, well-dressed, clipboards in hand, staring at the posts like they were inspecting a crime scene. I approached calmly and asked if I could help them. One woman smiled tightly and introduced herself as the president of the Brookstone Ridge HOA. She told me, very politely, that residents were concerned about the fence. "Concerned how?" I asked. "It blocks the view," she said. "Several homeowners purchased their properties specifically for the open landscape behind them." I looked past her at the row of houses, each with a back deck pointed straight at my pasture like a theater audience. "That landscape," I said, "is my land." She nodded, still smiling. "Yes, but we were hoping you'd be open to compromise, perhaps lowering the fence or removing sections entirely." I told her no. That was the moment her smile disappeared. The letters started 2 weeks later. First, a friendly notice asking me to reconsider for the sake of community harmony. Then a more formal warning claiming my fence violated local standards, despite the fact that those standards existed only within their HOA boundaries. One letter suggested the fence might be removed if it was found to be non-compliant. Another mentioned that corrective action could be taken to preserve property values. The phrase that stuck with me was this: "If the fence remains, the HOA may arrange for its removal." Arrange for its removal. I drove straight to the county office with my survey and permits. The clerk confirmed what I already knew. My land was not part of Brookstone Ridge. The HOA had no authority over it. None. Zero. She even printed out a map and highlighted the boundary in yellow, as if explaining it to a child. Still, the pressure escalated. One Saturday morning, I woke up to the sound of voices near the fence line. When I stepped outside, I saw 2 men in work boots measuring my fence posts. One of them had a saw in the back of his truck. I asked who sent them. They said they'd been contracted by the HOA to adjust the fence for visibility. I told them to leave immediately. They hesitated. Then one said, "We were told this would be handled." I pulled out my phone and started recording. I told them they were trespassing and that if they touched my fence, I'd call the sheriff. They left in a hurry, tires spitting gravel. That was the last straw. I hired a lawyer the following Monday. Not the cheapest one, the right one. Someone who specialized in property law and had a particular disdain for overreaching HOAs. We sent a cease and desist letter that spelled everything out in clear, unambiguous language. No authority, no permission, no entry. Any attempt to damage my property would result in legal action. The HOA responded by doubling down. They claimed the fence was a nuisance. They argued it diminished the aesthetic value of their community. They even suggested that because their residents had historically enjoyed unobstructed views, they had some implied right to continue doing so. My lawyer laughed when he read that part. We sued. The case moved faster than I expected. During discovery, HOA emails surfaced that made my stomach turn. Board members openly discussed cutting sections of the fence after dark. One message suggested if the fence came down quickly enough, I might not bother rebuilding it. Another referred to my farm as wasted land that could be more useful if opened up. Those emails became the heart of the case. In court, the HOA's attorney tried to frame the dispute as a misunderstanding between neighbors. My lawyer laid out the facts with surgical precision: the surveys, the permits, the threats, the attempted trespass, the contractor with a saw. Then he introduced the emails. The judge's expression changed as he read them. When the HOA president testified, she insisted they never intended to damage my property. The judge asked her to explain the phrase, "cut it quietly and deal with the fallout later." She couldn't. The ruling came down in my favor, decisively. The HOA was ordered to pay damages, cover my legal fees, and issue a formal written apology. They were also permanently enjoined from entering my property or contacting me about the fence again. The judge made a point of stating on the record that a desire for a better view does not grant ownership over someone else's land. That sentence was worth every minute. I rebuilt the fence stronger than before, adding a proper gate and planting a line of fast-growing trees just inside my boundary, not out of spite, out of privacy. The goats arrived in the spring, and they don't care about views or property values. They care about grass, sunlight, and solid fencing. Sometimes I see people standing on their decks, looking out at what used to be an uninterrupted panorama. Now they see fence, trees, and a working farm. My farm. I didn't buy the land to fight a lawsuit, but I did buy it to live freely. And when someone mistakes entitlement for ownership, sometimes the only thing to do is stand your ground, right where the survey stakes say you can. If you enjoy gripping, unforgettable stories, tap like, subscribe, and share with your twist-loving friends.